was a junior doctor, a very junior. We had a young chap who came in who I can't remember whether he was in his late 20s or early 30s, but he was a young chap, and he had metastatic testicular cancer, and he came in hypothermic and unwell, and I've never seen anyone so emaciated, or I hadn't at that point in my career. He was so emaciated, and his wife followed him in, who was 9 months pregnant with twins, or 8 months pregnant with twins. And she was due to have a planned section in about 4 days' time. And his blood results came back, and it wasn't good. He had sepsis, and I remember taking the phone call and knowing that, and I remember phoning the reg in just a panic.
I did have one moment. Respiratory and breathing and that sort of thing is something I feel pretty competent with. So I have this lady, she came in, she was pretty poorly managed up till that point. And the only reason I actually came across her is because I heard a tube pop out. So I just went over to plug it back in. I'm looking at her, and her oxygen stats are like 75%. You know, she's breathless, she's blue, she's cyanotic, and she's just huffing and puffing away. She had a background of COPD, so we took her to resus straight away. Started giving her medication. Everything was going pretty well. I looked at her and I thought, you know, I looked at her bloods. This is straightforward. This is infective exacerbation of COPD. So I'll give her IV antibiotics. You know, she's septic, whatever. So I asked her, "Do you have any allergies?" No. I must have asked her twice more, "Are you allergic to penicillin?" No. No. Fine. So I prescribed penicillin-based antibiotic for her. And it was about 40 seconds. 40 seconds, and she just broke out into rashes, and she arrested. First respiratory arrest. I didn't have time to react. You know, first respiratory arrest and then cardiac arrest, and I'm just standing there, and I'm just thinking, what the fuck happened?
Okay, I think I've been on the job 18 months, 2 years, something like that, and it was a fall near the Royal Free Hospital, and we get there, and she had just qualified as a doctor, and she was having a party to celebrate, and they think she tried to climb between the balconies. It's one of those old Georgian houses that have a little balcony. She was on the first floor, and she tried to get across to the next balcony where her boyfriend was, to surprise her boyfriend, and she lost her footing and had fallen, and when she landed on her head. So she was, well, she died. She was the way I remember it, and I don't know if I've exaggerated this over the years, but the way I remember it was that the sister was there with her. The sister was there, and then there was no way she would survive. But she was holding her sister's hand. My recollection of it is, you know, I forgot about this story for about 10 years. I'm sure this is the way it was, but my recollection was that I had to prise the dead sister's hands open to let go of her sister.
And I was like pulling up antibiotics and him arresting in resus. And I was resuscitating him with his wife there. He died. Sorry. And I just remember being incredibly upset. Incredibly upset. Because you're not meant to cry. And another person spoke to his wife. I couldn't speak to his wife, and I was far too junior at the time. And I remember walking outside for a breath of air, and it was just the emotional impact of seeing a young guy die, and his poor wife. He was never going to see his kids. It was just crap. And we never really spoke about it again.
It wasn't the penicillin, and it wasn't something I could have foreseen. She actually turned a corner with me up until that point. She was looking well and things were improving, and then, shit just hit the fan really quick, really fast. That knocked my confidence. You know, and that's despite everyone going, it's not your fault. I found it pretty hard to function after that. I took that home. I felt terrible for a long time. In the end, it was okay. We got her back, but it was touch and go for a while. It wasn't the arrest, but the realization that you're not in control. Often, even when you think you are.
The other thought of my mind was that she was holding her sister. You know, she was dead, but she was holding her sister. I had to prise them apart. And we took her to the Royal Free. We took her to the hospital and pretty much took her straight to the mortuary. There was nothing we could do for the girl. You know, and it was the fact that there was a party going on. It was a celebration, you know, all the effort and the work she'd done to become a doctor, just qualified. And now she was dead, you know? It was something really stupid. Just a momentary, you've had a drink and you're fucked. Not really. Quite a few sleepless nights over that, thinking about that imagery and how suddenly it can change.
I've come up with this analogy that, you know, when you're new on the job, it's all fresh and exciting. You don't know any different. It's like you're in a corridor in a hotel and you've got all these doors. They all look the same and every job is a door. You open the door and you do your job. Then all of a sudden you'll open a door and someone will punch you on the nose. So when you come to the next one, you're going to be a bit more cautious. And after a few more, you know, you might get a bit more relaxed. But then someone hits you with a frying pan, and the way I describe it, it's not like a physical punch, but it can be an emotional one. It can be an event. It can be a relative or anything else that actually hits you. But you don't forget it. You become more and more cautious, and for a lot of people there'll be a point when they don't want to open any more doors. I think you have strategies to deal with it, to switch off, you know, but you carry these things. You don't ever get rid of them.